and you're listening to my good friend and favorite DJ, Jimmy Deal.
Marilyn, Sokol, so great to have you with us. How are you?
I'm great now that I'm with you.
Oh, you've done it all, Marilyn. You've been an actress, right? Comedian, singer, musician. Unbelievable career. You've done so much in your career, so many awards, right? Including an Emmy, an Ubi, Best Actress in the Madrid International Independent Film Festival. You're a legend. Tell us how you're doing and what's going on.
Well, I just took a shower and I washed my hair, so I'm doing great. It's a good shampoo. And how am I doing? Allergy season. This is allergy season. Oh my God. My heart goes out to all of us.
Yeah, you look fantastic. You look great tonight. And as I said, great to have you here with us. And you're originally from the Bronx, right? Went to school in D.C., NYU here in New York City. When did you first decide you wanted to be in showbiz?
I didn't want to be in showbiz. I wanted to be an actress. And the first thing I wanted to be was a private secretary, like, I forget her name, on television.
Uh-huh.
Right. And Southern.
Oh, okay.
Fabulous. And then after that, I wanted to be a Betty Grable. And after that, I wanted to be a female version of Sid Caesar and Carl Reiner. I wanted to be on your shows, and I wanted to marry Howdy Doody. Until I was in the peanut gallery. Up until that moment, I thought Howdy was real, and I saw his strings, and Bob Smith yelled at us in the peanut gallery. I don't know why. I don't remember why he yelled at us, but I remember not liking him. Anyway, I hope none of his relatives are watching. So that's my whole life up until I got crushes in elementary school. I was in love with Howdy. But I must tell you, Howdy and his red hair, although we didn't have color at that time, and my pediatrician also had red hair. I had a weakness for many years for boys with red hair. So
that's great. You mentioned Sid Caesar. I know you idolized him, and didn't you get to work with him?
I did at the Village Gate. Mm-hmm. He had his show Caesar and Company, and I played a lot of the roles that Imogene Coca had played. They were little vignettes,
Right. So awesome. And he must have been fun to work with, I'm sure.
Yes, he was, but this was later in his life. So he was quite demanding, which is fine. I had also met Carl Reiner when I did the Dick Van Dyke Variety TV show. And what a guy, fabulous, sweet as could be, and so talented. I loved him. He was always the straight man to Sid,
What about Dick Van Dyke? What was he like?
Oh my God. Well, of course, so talented, so easy, like butter, and just so kind, so talented. I can't say that word enough for Dick Van Dyke.
Do you still keep in touch with Dick Van Dyke at all?
No, I don't. I'm sort of not so good at keeping in touch with only you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you keeping in touch with me. I appreciate that so much. Also, you worked on the Barney Miller Show, right, with Hal Linden. That must have been fun. He's been on my show, so he's a great guy. Tell us about working with Hal Linden.
He is a great guy. I I just have very fond memories of working with him
Uh-huh.
and his staff, the
Right.
director, and just wonderful. Um, I kind of tripped as I walked into the scene out of, yeah, or I tripped on my tongue
Hmm.
in any event. Well, Hojewitz, wasn't that one of the
That was
characters?
one of the characters. He was a detective, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was great. And
Hmm.
they all were.
Nice. And then also
And I what?
growing up, one of my favorite shows was Sesame Street. So I wanted
Oh,
to ask you about
sure.
you did the puppet on there. To tell us about that.
Well, I was not so good with manipulation, although some guys would disagree with that. Um, anyway, um, but I my voice was used a lot on Sesame Street, and also I was Ma Otter on Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Hmm.
Frank Oz did the manipulation, and I did the voice, the singing and speaking.
Right.
And Jim Henson coached me. He coached whatever New York accent I had out of me. You know,
Oh,
he's
that's great. He must have been fantastic to work with Jim Henson. I mean, what a talented guy he was.
well, I grew up on him when we moved to Maryland and Washington from the Bronx.
Hmm.
He had the Wilkins coffee commercials, and he that's where I first met Kermit and another puppet also. But he was at the University of Maryland, and he developed these beautiful hand puppets.
Hmm.
So I can't tell you what a thrill it was to work with him.
I'm
And
sure.
I think at one point he asked me to be Miss Piggy, but I was doing a lot of TV and film at the time, so I turned him down.
Oh, well, are you sorry you turned down Miss Piggy?
No, I think Frank Oz did a much better job
Hmm.
than I could have done. Frank is great. He has no elbow.
Right.
You know, he's such a great puppeteer. I wouldn't have done the manipulation. I would have just done the voice
Right.
as I had for Ma Otter.
Yeah.
Ma Otter. And my son was played by Jerry, and he, they were so talented. I was
Mhm.
so lucky. I answered an ad in Backstage for Showbiz magazine.
Right.
That's how I got involved. There was no nepotism at all. There was no nepotism to be had
Right.
anywhere.
Wow. Now, when you first started being an actress, did you start in New York or did you go out to LA? How did that all start?
Well, I started in the street in the
Hmm.
Bronx
In the
singing
Bronx.
Ain't She Sweet? And see you coming down the street. Now I ask you very confidentially, ain't she sweet? Now, I did not tap dance, but I had seen it, so I faked it. But I had already started to take ballet
Okay.
at, was it Carnegie Hall? My sister called me and tell me where, Steinway Hall. That's across the street from Carnegie Hall. And
Hmm.
I had, and so when we got to Washington, I started taking ballet at the Washington School of Ballet, which was really a fabulous school.
Right.
And then when I came to New York to go to college, I majored in theater and Spanish literature. and I started auditioning as soon as I graduated with a BA.
Okay.
And that's how I got Men of La Mancha.
Yeah.
I was the belly dancer to Jose Ferrer's Don Quixote and
Right.
Cervantes. So it was fabulous.
And that was a national tour, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, yeah. Now, did you enjoy doing Broadway? I know you like the stage and you like Broadway, you like off Broadway. Tell us about that. Tell us about your love for Broadway.
Well, it's very exciting to be on Broadway. Very.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and you've done quite a few shows. I mean, you also worked on Norman Lear's hilarious All That Glitters, Law and Order, Sex in the City with Kim Cattrall. You were so funny. You were a sex therapist on that. Did you have a favorite show to work on? Television show?
Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Jim Henson. But I'm trying to think. Maybe Dick Van Dyke.
Really, Dick Van Dyke?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was fabulous.
Yeah. You were also a frequent guest on the Johnny Carson show, right? Merv Griffin show. Tell us about being on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. What an achievement that is right there.
That was very nerve-wracking.
Really?
Very difficult. He was very particular.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the second or third time I was on, I wore a dress that was synthetic, and there was a lot of air conditioning, and there was a lot of electricity in my dress. So when I finished doing my little girl, and I lifted my dress a little in the back, as I had done in clubs in New York.
Right.
It stayed up. So, and I was wearing pantyhose without pants underneath the hose.
Right.
So here's what happened. When I finished and I came back to sit down,
Mm-hmm.
Johnny went, the first moon of the year. So
Oh, that's
fabulous. Great. And fortunately, a producer of a show that I had auditioned for saw me do that, and I got cast because of that.
Oh, wow.
That was Norman Lear. And then they said to me, because I was going to play an Arab oil magnate, Fada Abuban, Sheikh of Abu Rashid, and asked me if I had someone to suggest to play my concubine. And I suggested Danny DeVito. So that, I believe, was Danny's debut on TV. After that, I guess it was Taxi.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, what an achievement. Johnny Carson, I mean, what a legend he was. And also Merv Griffin.
Merv couldn't be warmer, couldn't be kinder. Just so kind.
Yeah.
And adorable. Very kind.
Yeah, he seemed like he was such a gracious guy, Merv Griffin.
He was. I hate to say was when it comes to Merv.
Right.
So warm.
So tell us about the Broadway productions, the first national Man of La Mancha, right? How did that all start? When you first auditioned, was it a national tour or was it just in one spot at that point?
It was a national tour.
It was a national tour, okay.
Yeah, with Harvey Lembeck and Jose Ferrer. But when we got to California, in Los Angeles and San Francisco, the producers demanded the Broadway leads. So it became Richard Kiley and Joan Diener. And that was it.
And of course, you said you were the belly dancer, which was so awesome.
Yes, I was very modest
Uh,
as a young person, but I had to wear a costume
mhm.
displaying my belly. So I did a lot of dating as we crossed the country.
Right. Didn't you also work on Grease and Conversations with My Father with Judd Hirsch, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Grease it wasn't the first time that Grease appeared on Broadway.
Hmm.
And
So what a great production that was. I mean, and it turned into that huge movie, but
it was great. It
yeah.
was great. And Conversations was utterly fantastic. And
Hmm.
Judd and I had done a show together
Right.
in Philadelphia at the University of Pennsylvania
Oh, wow.
years before. So we knew one another.
Right.
He's so gifted and so his career is just off the charts.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I was at an event with him once. What a really nice guy Judd is. Of course, he did Taxi and all that, and worked with you and so many great things. And of course, he did Fiddler on the Roof, right? Theodore Bickel.
Yeah.
And what do you like doing better? Do you think what's more exciting to you? Is it theater or is it television?
Well, at this point, it's easier to do TV and film
Hmm.
because to do theater, you have to do 8 performances a week.
Hmm.
So you could drop after the sixth, just collapse. Very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But film and TV, it's stressful, but it's easier on the physiognomy.
Right. And they're very long days when you're doing television and movies and all that type of thing. People don't realize how long a day is when you're actually out there working.
Yeah, much longer than 8 hours.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Also, tell me about the Basketball Diaries. Leonardo DiCaprio. He had to be fantastic to work with, right? Tell us about Leonardo.
Well, I didn't share a scene with him.
Oh, okay. So
I
did
yelled.
you actually see him on the set or anything?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. He was playing a dope addict.
Uh-huh.
And so he looked a little green to me.
Oh, really? Really?
Or maybe the real dope addict looked a little green.
Right. Also, the producers, right? Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick. Uh, Tell us about that scene with them.
Well, I was with Nathan. This was not the first movie. This was the redo.
Right.
And I had worked briefly with Matthew in family business
Mm-hmm.
with Dustin Hoffman
Right.
and Matthew.
Yeah. What do you think of the Broadway play that ran on Broadway? One of the longest running plays of all time there on Broadway, right?
Which one?
The producers.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh God, what a great success.
Yeah.
And what a great production. What a great show.
Yeah.
There were 2 productions, the original,
Right.
and then Susan Stroman did the second. And that's the movie is based on the second production of the producers. So it was
Right.
great.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan Lane seemed like a really fun guy to work with. I mean, he has such a great attitude and disposition on set for sure.
He's a real veteran.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah. And also, I was looking through your movies and I saw you did Crocodile Dundee 2. Tell us about that. What was that experience like?
Well, I was also performing in a club in New York at the same time.
Uh-huh.
So I nearly fell asleep during the filming, but I was still able to pull it off,
Right. What was Paul Hogan like? Did you get to interact with him at all?
He was very easy, very easygoing,
Mm-hmm.
and very handsome fella.
Yeah.
You
What a
know.
great movie. Legendary movie. Love all of them. They wrote such great movies. The Crocodile Dundee's movie saga there. And also, tell us about Goldie Hawn and Chevy Chase.
Well,
Okay.
Goldie is she went to Montgomery Blair High School,
Mm-hmm.
which was very well known to me because I went to Coolidge High School in
Mm-hmm.
Washington. She was in Maryland and I was in Washington. So we had some common history together.
Mm-hmm.
She was absolutely precious, precious person, so adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you look at her as an actress sharing a scene, you just fall into her eyes.
Yeah.
Just beautiful, really beautiful girl.
I love the scene you did with her. That was so awesome. And you're right. Talking to each other and looking in each other's eyes right there. That was some moment for you, I'm sure.
It was lovely.
Yeah.
And also, just just the whole cast was wonderful.
Mm. Chevy Chase too, right? I just recently met
Yeah.
him at Christmas time. He was doing an appearance here, and I got to meet him for the first time. But what was he like on set when you worked with him?
It was his first film, so he was innocent in a
Hmm.
way, you know.
Wow.
Dudley Moore was in it too.
Oh, was he Dudley? Wow. Wow.
Yes, so very, very, very exciting working with all these people.
Right. And the movie The Front, of course, the legendary Woody Allen. Tell us about Woody Allen. What was he like to work with, and what is he like? I heard he's a perfectionist. Is that true?
Well, it wasn't his film. It was not directed by him.
Right.
So he wasn't that much of a perfection.
Perfectionist. Okay.
But it turned out that my scene with him was a comedy and it was comedic.
Uh-huh.
That I was getting laughs from the crew. And so he said to me in between takes, "This is not a comedy." So I took my drink,
Uh-huh.
and that's what I was supposed to be drinking at the bar.
Right.
And I spilled it on his crotch. That's how I got back at him for saying this is not a comedy.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, this is out on the air. God knows what'll happen to me as a result.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, he's such a great actor, though, and a legend in his time. And so are you, man.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. You also created your own shows. Tell us about Guilt Without Sex.
Yes.
It went on
That's
to have rave reviews. Tell us about the show.
story of my life. It
Mhm.
was largely autobiographical
Uh-huh.
and just a thrill to work on because I had to exhume material from my childhood because I chose to do that.
Right.
And then I did Me and My Fanny, which was where I culled material from the life of Fanny Bryce and the music of the time. And that was fabulous. Hold on.
Yeah, sure.
This is
Yeah, it's allergy season. Okay, it's March, so you're getting all the seasons in one month. Exactly.
should have come later, but
Let me ask you: doing a solo show that you've created, does that give you a special kind of thrill for you to work on your own stuff?
well, it's a thrill, but it's also enervating.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes an enormous amount of energy and money because I had to pay my accompanist, and if I were It just it's so I was the director, the producer,
Right.
and the star. A lot. It's a lot to do.
Oh, I'm sure. And you are so talented, and you just pull it all off so well. If you had to do everything over again, would you do it the same way?
I would have to, but I think I would have to if I had to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would maybe do more TV.
Okay. Very cool. And also, people must call out to you on the street because of your role of Sex in the City. You played a sex therapist, Vilma Rudin, right? With Kim Cattrall.
Velma Rudin.
Yep. And give us your insights on working on Sex in the City and also with Kim Cattrall.
Well, Kim was very generous, and because I was new and she was already a star of it,
Right.
and so her position in the scene was complaining that her boyfriend's business wasn't big enough.
I got you.
And my response was, I hear that. and that became a mantra from what I'm told that year on the set when I wasn't even there.
Right.
I hear that, with the crew.
What an hilarious scene that was, and such a memorable scene from Sex in the City with Kim Cattrall. Also, you've worked with so many legends, as we just mentioned, Woody Allen and so many people that we mentioned, Goldie Hawn. Do you have a favorite that you worked with, a special memory of anybody that you worked with that comes to mind?
Well, I suppose dear to my heart was my first leading man, Jose Ferrer.
Okay.
He was such a great leader. He was our leading man in Men of La Mancha. And he was a great storyteller. He really assumed the role of the leading man and the head of the company. And I had already, adored him as Toulouse-Lautrec.
Right. What about Man on the Moon, Jim Carrey? What was he like?
He was very generous,
Uh-huh.
I didn't really have a line. And so when he came in and he said, how you doing? Or whatever he said. And
right.
I didn't have a line. He said to me, say peachy. So I said, peachy. And I thought that was very kind of him to give me a line,
Also, Danny DeVito was in there, right?
Yeah, and I called him boss because he was also a producer on that movie.
Right. What a great movie that was. Was Jim Carrey, was he always serious on set, or was he always in character, pretty much a funny guy to be around all the time?
Well, I wasn't in that many scenes with him.
Right.
But I think he was totally professional, and he did whatever was necessary.
Right.
And so a lot of the time it's not necessary to maintain your character throughout. But he's a great professional and a great comic.
Absolutely. I want to mention, of course, Can't Stop the Music. I have to mention that movie. Some of the Village people were in there. Steve Guttenberg. Tell us about your role, Lulu, in there in Can't Stop the Music.
Well, I became very, very close to the Village people, especially Felipe, the Indian.
Mm-hmm.
He and I. So I was, they were, and also, you know who was in it? What's his name?
Caitlyn Jenner, right, was in there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Bruce Jenner,
Well, it was
not
Bruce
Caitlyn.
Jenner at that time. Now she's Caitlyn Jenner, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bruce and I had dinner one night, and
Mhm.
he was great. I was very petite at the time,
Mhm.
and he would lift me up. I felt like a little girl with him. He was absolutely precious, adorable, adorable, and kind, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, so many great people in that movie, and that was such a great role that you played. Um, Out of all the people that you worked with, who would you say really inspired you the most? And maybe you learned something from them working with them. Tell us about that experience.
Oof. In that movie, Tammy Grimes was in it. She
Mhm.
was fabulous
Okay.
and inspiring, sure. And um, I guess I have to go back to Jose Ferrer for inspiration.
For the inspiration.
You know,
Right.
just so brilliant, brilliant guy
Yeah.
on and off stage.
Yeah. Now you did some cabaret singing too, right? Tell us about the cabaret shows.
Well, cabaret is very, very demanding. It
Mhm.
was great. I loved the times when I would just sit on the lip of the stage and just riff, you know,
Right.
as a comedian, you know,
Right.
very, very.
You are a very funny comedian, by the way.
Thank you.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
I'm
Uh,
not hilarious right this minute, but
well, that's fine, but you are hilarious with
thank,
all your movies, all your work that you've done on
thank
television.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And if what advice would you give to somebody starting out in the business today that wants to be an actress or an actor?
It's a very, very different business now.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody wants to be an actress, study, 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 read, 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 study with, find out from who the best people are to study with. I had teachers that are now deceased.
Right.
An HB studio is a great place. Um, and read plays, read scripts for movies, TV.
Right.
Just read and see what you like. See what you think you'd be good for. That really, really does help.
And you have to have a tough skin too, right, Marilyn, to be in this business a little bit?
Well, I've never had a tough skin. So, but I think it would have helped a great deal.
Absolutely.
I would have probably avoided one or two of my nervous breakdowns. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of hills in this business, that's for sure. But I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me and coming on the
Jimmy,
show.
thank
You were
you.
fantastic. You had such a fantastic career. You're a legend in your time. Thank you so much, Marilyn. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. You're just so sweet.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll have to have you back on again, and we will stay in touch. Thank you so much, Marilyn.
Thanks.
Okay, have a great night. All right, Marilyn Sokol right there, legend in her time. Great to have her with us. Also tonight, I have to mention this Saturday night, I want to thank Al Bandiero for a classic night with Al Bandiero in Helden, New Jersey. Got to hang out with Al Bandiero and Lime and WKTU DJ. Was also spinning all the hits that night. It was fantastic. We had such a great time. So I want to thank Al Bandiero for the invite to that show and all the people that showed up. It was a fantastic night. So I want to thank everybody for coming down to Classic Night with Al Bandiero, and I want to thank Al for inviting me to the Classic Night with Al Bandiero. What a great time that was. Also coming up next week on Celebrity Spotlight, we have Danny Stefanetti's going to be here. So she is a country artist. She's been on my show before, and she's going to be here again. She's got a brand new music. We'll talk all about that. I think she's got a brand new album. So maybe we'll have a play like a little acoustic from that album, which would be really cool. So I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. So many great people that listen to the show every week, of like Cindy in Lake Ronkonkoma, Beryl in Virginia, Tom Payton, and my mom in Canarsie, Marty in Gravesend, Tommy in Bay Ridge. So many great people. Trisha in Sun City, Florida. And also, we're going to do a little giveaway tonight. The first person to go to my Facebook page, if you're friends with me on Facebook, just write Keychain. The first person who writes Keychain on my Facebook, I'll send you a signed Celebrity Spotlight keychain. So we'll do a little contest tonight, and that's a way of thank you for listening to the show. And we also have a Yankee show coming up in April, and that's going to be all the inside stories and the untold stories of the Yankees. So that's going to be April 1st, and I'm going to have a co-host. Tommy P is going to join me as a co-host for that show, and it's going to be a great show. We'll learn all about the New York Yankees, all about baseball. We have a great baseball consultant on, so we're looking forward to that, and a lot more guests too on the way. So I want to thank again everybody for listening tonight. Everybody have a fantastic week. Have a great weekend, and we will catch you next Monday. My good friend Danny Stefanetti is going to be a country artist, so it should be very interesting. Again, thank you, Marilyn Sokol, for joining me. She's a legend in her time, and I'm glad she took the time out to hang out with us tonight. So everybody, thanks again, and we will catch you next Monday.